Hi and welcome to Deanberg Carnegie and our interview with Ependion. My name is Markus Almerud. I'm an analyst here at the bank. So I go with me Jenny Sjödahl, who is CEO at Ependion. Hi Jenny.
Hi there.
You just released Q4 earnings. Puts and takes, but maybe starting with the order intake, which was up 2% organically, but from quite a good Q4 last year. And you write here, and it was also up nicely from Q3, and you write a little bit about rail being an important driver. What are you seeing on the ground?
Yeah, as we have pointed out quite a few times, our rail customers, the demand from the rail customers in general is actually quite stable, but the way they place orders can vary a lot between quarters. So I would say the order intake in a particular quarter does not reflect the underlying demand, so to say, from that perspective. But definitely you are right. We saw a very, very weak order intake from basically all our rail customers in quarter three. Maybe it had something to do with, vacation period in Europe, but we saw a very nice recovery now in quarter four, where several of our key customers actually placed larger orders in the quarter. So it's a natural pattern, but it's still good to see that it came back.
Mm-hmm. And when you talk about recovery, that's on the order side, but maybe not on the demand side. Demand has been quite stable, right? So there's been
Exactly.
no big changes in demand. It's just been orders which has been up and
Yeah.
down.
Yes.
And apart from rail, any other end markets that stick out?
No, not really. I mean, we are seeing on the order side quite good an uptick in energy, of course, driven by Welotec, but not only Welotec. If we compare to the same quarter last year, we see an uptick on the energy order intake as well. But in general, as we state in the report, the market sentiment is pretty much unchanged compared to the previous quarters in 2025.
Mm-hmm. And you have decided to add defense industry as a focus segment, which is new for you. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so this is a pre-study that has been going on for quite some time now, particularly in Westermo, but also in Beijer Electronics. And of course, it's driven by the situation, so to say, in the world where we know that Europe is going to invest heavily into the defense market in the coming years. And given that our products, already fit well with the general requirements in the defense sector with reliability and robustness and so on, we felt that it made sense for us to actually take this step now. And as we say also in the report, we already have not a huge, but a pretty good business already in the defense sector with a couple of key European defense customers. So we are not starting from scratch, but we want to build on this business and see where we can take it going forward.
And is it a focus segment for both business segments or only Westermo?
I think it is. It is a focus for both, but in Westermo, we have kind of taken the formal decision, that let's move into this and put it as a focus segment for Westermo. In Beijer Electronics is more ongoing work, looking at some of the certifications needed in this industry and taking it step by step. But so both of them, but a little bit more firm, I would say, in Westermo.
Mm-hmm. And if we stay at Westermo and maybe dig in a little bit in the end user segments in Westermo, and starting with rail, what is the mood in the rail sector?
I think the mood in the rail sector is pretty good. I mean, there is a lot of underlying, the drivers happening. In Europe, we have the regulations that are coming into force, both in terms of cybersecurity, but also when it comes to upgrading old infrastructure and achieving interoperability within the European Union so that trains can actually run more smoothly over borders, so to say, which is a huge issue today. So I think there's a lot of, underlying growth there. And then, of course, we have India, which is a booming market in terms of rail investment, both in the subway, the metro segment, lots of investment, but also in other kind of high-speed rail and the regional rail as well. So pretty good mood, I would say, overall.
And if you try to talk about, I know it's difficult because it's big orders and it's big pipeline and it's big ticket items, but if one talk about some kind of demand or number of quotations, is that changing at all, or has it been quite stable, not only the quarter, but maybe looking in the past year?
I think it has been relatively stable. I think we have had a strong pipeline all along, actually. What we have seen, though, is that, projects have been postponed and delayed a little bit. Decisions have taken longer, but the overall pipeline has been strong all along, and I think it's still strong.
And moving on to energy, you bought Welotec earlier, well, last year now.
Yeah.
How is the integration progressing? Maybe starting there.
I think the integration has gone really, really well. The teams are working very closely together. We have been focusing fully on the front end, so to say, on customers and customer relationships and leveraging, the full portfolio that we now have. So lots of joint customer visits, not only in Europe, but also in the US. And we are already seeing some, not huge, but still some concrete orders actually from that collaboration. So a very good start, I would say.
And if you look at if you just look at the segment per se and not the collaboration, but just looking at the energy sector per se, and then comparing that to the rail, same question really. What's the mood like, and what's the kind of progression you're seeing?
I think the mood again also in that sector is quite good. The need to invest not only here in Sweden but globally is still very much there. There are, as we've talked about before, there are quite long cycles in many respects when energy operators are considering modernization, digitalization, and so on. They have to, think about what they want to do and how they're going to do it, and they need to test different technology and see what's working and so on. So still long sales cycles, but I think that step by step we are, moving forward into new customers and creating new customer relationships. So slower than we, wanted when we started off this initiative for sure, but there's a lot of things going on.
And I assume now that focus for the energy segment is to get the offer together with Welotec, and this is really the focus to go and see customers together and try to sell more of both products, etc.
Exactly, and we have actually 3 product lines, so to say, that are in play here. The Welotec, substation computers. We have the Westermo traditional Ethernet switches that are needed in the substations as well. But then we also have the remote access offering from Westermo Ireland, which also plays very well into this. So we now have a very broad and good portfolio for that sector.
And you're opening a sales office in Benelux, where you previously had were working through distributor. Why now? And why do you opening that now? What's your expectations from this?
Yeah, we're opening it because we know that we have a strong position already in Europe. We have already existing customers in the Benelux countries, but we feel that we are not quite covering the whole area with the current setup. So we feel it's the right time. We have a person in Westermo that lives in Netherlands that has a lot good knowledge about us and the market. So it felt logical to take that step now.
Mm-hmm. And looking at the margin moving down the P&L, you saw quite a big margin contraction. I mean, Q4 last year was exceptionally good.
Yes.
But margin fell quite a bit, and it was also down compared to earlier this year. Well, I think it was in line with Q3. What was the driver behind the margin coming off?
Yeah, it was actually 2 things. One of them was that we We took the amortization of the acquisition, of the Welotec acquisition, so that affected the result in Westermo by 4.9 million Swedish kronor, so that's quite a significant hit. And then on top of that, we had the currency headwind, which also affected 2.7 percentage points for Westermo. So those two added together, makes up the difference between last year and this year. Of course, the currency we can't do anything about in the short run, but yeah, that's the reason.
Okay. Maybe moving over a little bit to Beijer Electronics. We talked a lot about X3. You say you have 120 customers who have ordered, of which 20 are new. And maybe starting there, because we've also said that there's not going to be a revolution. It's going to be a slow progression from moving over to X2 to X3. Do you need the new customers to get there, or are there any other factors like mixed price that will drive growth?
I think it's a combination. I mean, it's extremely positive that we can now target new customers, which we couldn't really do with the old product range, so to say. But on the other hand, we also know that the demand right now, especially in the manufacturing industries, is very, very low. So as these customers' business start to take off eventually, of course, we will benefit from that and growth from that. So I think it will be a combination of the market in general picking up, but also us winning new customers because we have a brand new and modern platform.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's a very valid point, I guess. And maybe stopping there a bit. The marine sector, I assume, continues to go quite well. Has been quite strong for quite some time. Is it moving along nicely?
Yeah, I would say so. We see continued quite high activity levels in the marine sector for sure, yes.
And any green shoots in the manufacturing sector?
I would love to say yes, but no, not really. Not as we see right now. It's kind of tagging along, but yeah.
Okay. And then coming back to X3. So the orders has mostly been for evaluation orders. And well, first of all, customers that test the products, do they usually go on and order the product, or is it not always the case?
I would say that in most cases, if they, buy the products and start to test them, typically they would start to use it eventually because it takes quite a lot of effort to test the products with their solutions, so to say. So they don't do that for fun, so to say. So most of them go ahead then and implement the new range.
Mm-hmm. So the way you see it is, with all these customers, it's just a time lag before you will get the larger orders from these tests, is what we should expect.
That's what we should expect. It will be a gradual, shift over during 2026 in combination then with, of course, new business. Then, of course, it's worthwhile remembering that we have been talking to existing customers for a long time already regarding the X3 range. So it's not like we are starting the activities now. So some of them have come quite a long way in testing and evaluating the product. So it's a little bit of a mix, but it will be a gradual implementation.
And is it possible to say at all what kind of time lag you have between testing and then deciding and putting in a larger order? Is it possible at all to say?
Not really possible to say because it varies a lot. Some customers are very, fast in doing that, and some take longer. But of course, it's not done overnight. But it can vary, I think, from a couple of months maybe to half a year, something like that.
Mm-hmm. But no oceans of time is still quite short time span between the two events, so to speak. Which is, I guess, where you get your confidence in that this will work out well.
Yeah, exactly. And then, of course, it has a lot to do with the customer's product life cycle, so to say, and their offering and how their new generations are playing out. So there are a lot of factors, but we expect it to be, again, a gradual adaptation during 2026.
And what kind of feedback are you getting from these tests? Because I assume you have a quite regular contact with the customers who are testing it.
Yeah, so far the feedback is actually really good. So yeah, we are optimistic.
Mm-hmm. And then moving down here again, the margin expanded somewhat from Q4 last year, so year-on-year, but it was lower than we've seen for the past couple of quarters. Again, what was the driver behind this sequential drop in the margin?
Yeah, so there are a couple of things. Also in Beijer Electronics, we were significantly hit by the currency effects. So that was like 2.7% also in Beijer Electronics percentage points. So that's of course massive. And then we have also the amortizations of the X3 development that also came into play now in Q4, which was 4 million Swedish kronor that we didn't have before in Q3 and earlier. So those two are the main explanations.
Mm-hmm. And then maybe finally about the gross margins, because you wrote that you've seen an increase to the gross margin in particularly in Beijer, I think, but also in Westermo, if I'm not mistaken, throughout 2025. And throughout the years, we talked quite a lot about operational gearing. And my sense is that you're in quite good shape. So really what we're looking for here is the volumes.
Yes.
That the right conclusion?
I mean, yeah, we have a very good situation in terms of our cost level and our gross margins, as you mentioned. So with volume, that's going to look pretty good, yes.
Mm-hmm. And then maybe one final one is just the beginning of 2026 now. And you're both president of the group, but also you're still CEO for Westermo. Where will you be spending your time in the next 6 months? What your priorities?
Well, my priority is really, focusing on Westermo because that's where the business happens, so to say. So, and the team is very motivated. We really want to continue to grow the business now, and so yeah, that's where my focus will be.
Jenny, thank you very much for coming here to talk to us, and we look forward to speak to you soon.
Thank you, Marcus.
Thank you.